What's up, guys? Welcome back to Worth the Wait podcast. I am your host, Cookie Miller. Welcome to season 4. Can you guys believe it? I want to thank all of you so much for your support over the years, all your messages, your reposts, the reviews that you guys have been leaving on Apple and all the other podcast platforms. Thank you so very much. You guys are the reason why we are able to go into a 4th season. Now, this season, we are going to have some really exciting guests that are going to be a part of the show. And I'm really looking forward to you all having the opportunity to watch the visual episodes on YouTube. So we are going to change things a little bit this season. Instead of us doing a 20 episode season, we are doing a 10 episode season. But do not worry, my goal is to make sure that those episodes are jam-packed with a ton of value for you. And we are going to kick that value off with this episode, which is episode 61, where we're going to talk about cravings, fatigue, weight gain, and how that can all be related to insulin resistance, prediabetes, and type 2 diabetes. So now always, I want you to remember, this is not medical advice. So please make sure that you're consulting with your healthcare provider before making any changes. But without further ado, let's get into episode 61, season 4 of Worth the Wait podcast. So if you've been a longtime listener, you already know about my journey. And this month actually is going to mark my 12-year Fit-Versary. In fact, this episode is coming out on the actual anniversary, which I'm really excited about. So that means 11 years of keeping 70 pounds off and 12 years since I took the first step. So, even as every year passes, I feel like I still will never forget what it was like going through that process. And really, I think a lot of people don't realize how hard it is to go through the maintenance phase. And people don't realize that the maintenance phase is still a part of the process. But that'll have to be an entirely different episode. I remember having the absolute worst sugar cravings that you can imagine. I would find myself eating really clean for a period of time and then uncontrollably binging on sweets, on really anything. And I remember also that I would have to get up a million times overnight to pee, being tired all the time, even despite my best efforts, and then ultimately gaining weight instead of losing it. Like, I remember that I set so many weight loss goals before actually being able to achieve my final goal. My initial goal wasn't even to lose 100 pounds. I know a lot of times people hear the story and they're like, "Oh, you've always wanted to lose 100 pounds." No, I actually started off like the first time in adulthood where I really was like, "Let me focus on my weight." My goal was to lose 40 pounds. That was it. I wanted to lose 40 pounds, but over time and over the years, I kept trying to lose weight with these really extreme measures where I would lose 20 pounds, I would be halfway there, and then I would gain it all back plus more. And that is how I ended up at the point of needing to lose 100 pounds. So it wasn't until I started noticing the darkening around my neck that eventually spread to my eyelids, my face, other parts of my body, that I went to the doctor, and that is when I was diagnosed pre-diabetic. And that is why I have been experiencing all of those symptoms that I was experiencing. That's why it was so hard to lose the weight. This episode is important because so many women reach out to me making their lack of willpower or lack of discipline as the reason why they can't lose weight. And while those things, of course, can be contributing factors, right? We don't want to just put it to the side that, yes, you need to develop discipline, you need to develop good habits. But there also could be underlying reasons why you're not able to lose weight. So I want to make sure that we are not discounting the fact that your body can be working against you. And knowing that and having that education can help you to get to the next step and actually be able to keep the weight off. So let's talk about the signs of insulin resistance. Could also be signs if it has already developed into prediabetes or full blown type 2 diabetes. Number one is carrying weight in the belly. On this podcast, we have talked before about the different body types. We've talked about the ectomorph, the endomorph, the mesomorph, right? And we talked about how that endomorph body type tends to carry weight in the belly. We also talked about how the other two body types tend to be more so body types that are genetic. This is just their genetic predisposition to have these body types. But with endomorph, it's one of the only body types where if you tend to carry weight in the belly, there is likely a reason connected to that. It's not necessarily just genetic. Right. So, and I know we can think that too, because we can look at our family, we look at everyone, and we're like, well, everybody is carrying weight in the belly. Well, that could more so be a habit based thing, right? If everyone in your family or a lot of people in your family have poor diets, if a lot of people in your family drink a lot of alcohol, for example, if a lot of people in your family are very sedentary, these are things that can lead to carrying that weight in your belly, right? So know that the endomorph body type is one of those body types where we can change. We can move into the mesomorph body type by addressing whatever is causing the weight gain in the belly. And one of those things could be insulin resistance. Another sign of insulin resistance is fatigue. If you're someone who's always tired all the time, you never have energy. Even if you feel like you get enough sleep, you feel like you just do not have the energy. Brain fog, not being able to concentrate on anything, that can also be a symptom. Weight gain in itself, right? So either having difficulty losing weight, which is weight loss resistance, or gaining weight even when you're making an effort to lose weight could also be a sign. Having sugar cravings is a big cue to let you know that something is up. If you are particularly and only craving sugar, that definitely tells you that something is probably up with your blood sugar regulation. Waking up in the middle of the night to pee. If you're one of those people who is getting up all the time, and it doesn't have to do with your water intake, right? Like, it's not that your water intake is too close to bedtime, but you are waking up all the time throughout the night to pee, that could also be a sign of insulin resistance. Skin conditions like acanthosis. I have talked about this before on the podcast as well, right? Acanthosis tends to happen to people of color, people who have melanin in their skin. So what you first notice is that darkening around the neck is usually the first sign. It can spread to other folds of your body, like your eyelids. It can spread to your knuckles. It can spread to different places, but generally where it's going to start is going to be that darkening that is on the neck. So if you're looking for like a picture of that and you're listening to the audio episode, go to my IG. It's at Cookie Miller, and you'll see an example of what that acanthosis can look like. That is another sign and symptom of insulin resistance. High blood pressure. So if you already have high blood pressure, it already is going to put you at a higher risk to have some form of insulin resistance. And then it works the same way around the other way as well. And then PCOS. There are many types of PCOS, but there's also a type of PCOS that is an insulin resistant type of PCOS. So if you're a woman with PCOS and you've been diagnosed, one, it doesn't always mean that you have insulin resistance because there can be other types. But two, it could mean that you do have insulin resistance. So all of these are signs that something is going on. So if this sounds familiar, I want you to know, one, you are not alone. There are so many women dealing with some level of insulin resistance, and so many of them don't even know it. Now, here's the good news. In a lot of cases, you can reverse this. That's what I did. And a part of reversing it was not only being focused on the weight loss. I think people get so caught up in the weight loss. I have to lose weight. I have to lose weight. And people feel that the weight loss is what's directly driving the change in the insulin resistance. And although, of course, it helps, The real change and the real reason why you're seeing changes in your insulin sensitivity generally has to do with the habits that you have to create in order to have that weight loss, meaning the changes that you have to make in your diet, the changes that you have to make in your lifestyle, the types of foods that you're eating, the amount of water that you're drinking. These things are more so contributing factors than just the weight loss by itself, right? So a part of me reversing it, like I said, was not only being focused on the weight loss or heavily cutting calories or doing an excessive amount of cardio, but also recognizing that I needed to address the fluctuations that were happening in my blood sugar that were being caused by the type of food I was eating and the combinations of foods that I was eating. So, if this sounds like you, what can you do? First things first, you need to get a blood test. I tell this story all the time, but when I first noticed that darkening on my neck, I did not go and say, let me get a blood test. I thought darkening on the neck, discoloration, skin condition, dermatologist, right? That's a reasonable thought. Why not? There was darkening on my neck, but also at the point that I went to see my dermatologist, it had also spread to my cheeks. It was on my eyelids. It was on my knuckles. So again, I'm thinking skin. I probably need some sort of topical cream. I go in, I see my dermatologist. She takes one look at me and she's like, you shouldn't be here. You need to go and see your primary care physician and you need to ask for a blood test. And I'm just going, please just give me a cream. Like, what are you talking about? I had no idea. It wasn't even on my radar that she could be talking about diabetes. That didn't even occur to me. And she also didn't say it. And I didn't ask her what she thought it was. I think I was just kind of in shock. Like, what do you mean? Like, I thought it took me so long to make the dermatologist appointment. So I'm thinking I finally built up the courage to make the dermatologist appointment to go to stop trying creams on my own, stop trying exfoliating and all the different things that I was trying. And now she's literally turning me away, you know? So, like I said, if this sounds like you, the first thing that you need to do is you need to get a blood test. And what you want to test in particular is your fasting glucose and your A1C. Notice I didn't say or, and your A1C. Your fasting glucose is going to give you a picture of what's happening in your body right now at this moment, whereas your A1C is going to give you an average blood sugar level over the past 2 to 3 months. So this is why it's so important to test both, because the fasting glucose alone may not tell you the entire story. You can have a really good fasting glucose level on that particular day for a multitude of reasons. Like you ate very well the previous day. Maybe you're in an extended period of fasting and you're getting a false normal reading, right? Because maybe now you fasted for like 14 hours because you knew you had to be fasted for the test, but you went late. Like all these things can be contributing to why your fasting glucose may be showing as low. So that's why you want to make sure that you're testing both. Now, here is where a lot of people get caught up. Listen closely. If you have been tuning out, this is the part where I want you to listen very closely. In Western medicine, a fasting glucose between 70 to 99 is considered normal, right? I know there's people listening right now who are saying, I already went and got my labs done. Everything is normal. It's not that. I have had clients say that before. But again, Western medicine, fasting glucose, 70 to 99 is normal. But did you know that you can be on the higher end of that normal range and still be symptomatic, right? So that is why I work with functional practitioners, right? They work differently than Western medicine in the sense that when they're looking at your lab work, it's more so from a preventative state versus a treatment state. Western medicine, a lot of times, is the aim or the goal is to treat you, to give you some type of diagnosis, some type of medication, that kind of thing. In other words, with Western medicine, the aim is to more so treat you after the fact, after you have already been in the disease state, versus when we're thinking about functional practitioners, the goal is for you to not get to the disease state. You get what I'm saying? So, when we're thinking about a fasting glucose, normal range is considered between 70 to 99. You can still be symptomatic if you're at the higher end of that range. The functional practitioners that I work with and that I've talked to prefer a fasting glucose between 85 to 95. So if you're over 95, and let's say you were a client and you're working with me and my functional RD is looking at your labs, if she sees that you're at 96, 97, we need to address what's happening with that. We're not just going to let that just slip by because that does give us a clue. Now, with your A1C, same thing. The normal range is somewhere between 5, is actually below 5.7%. But the functional practitioners that I work with prefer for you to have a reading between 4.8 to 5.4. That is going to be more ideal. And again, this is because you can still be symptomatic, and functional practitioners tend to want to catch the issues early before progressing into the disease state versus just treating the disease once it has already developed. Now, here are some practical things that you can do right away to start to feel better. First things first, you want to eat magnesium rich foods. Think about things like leafy greens, nuts, seeds, and avocados. Those are going to be your magnesium rich foods. You can also take magnesium supplementally, which I tend to recommend as well. I personally take about 400 milligrams of magnesium glycinate in the evenings before bed. But again, you can talk with your practitioner about what would be the right type of magnesium and dosage of magnesium for you. The next thing that you want to do is to reduce your sugar and processed carbs so that you can regulate your blood sugar. So these are going to be your ultra processed things, right? A lot of the times we tend to villainize carbs as a whole, but carbs do have a place. I'm a person who believes that we need all of our macronutrients, but you have to make sure that the foods that you're consuming or the macronutrients that you're consuming are not just sugary, ultra processed foods, like things that come in a package, things that you get at a drive-through. Those are the types of things that you want to eliminate. You don't want to eliminate your good carbs like your sweet potatoes or your brown rice or your vegetables. All of your veggies are going to be carbs, so you don't want to eliminate those for sure. The next thing is to take diluted apple cider vinegar before meals. This actually helps with a couple things. One, it's going to help with your digestion, and two, it's going to help to control those blood sugar spikes. One that we don't talk about enough is stress management. Stress has such an impact, not just when we're talking about insulin resistance, but really when we're talking about any type of health issue. Stress is usually at the center of it. So, stress management and also sleep is going to be very important. So, things you can do to work on your stress are like mindfulness and meditation, doing breathing exercises, just taking deep breaths in general. If you ever have like sat down and really paid attention to your breath without changing anything, you'll likely notice that you're taking very quick, shallow breaths and that you're not ever really breathing very deeply. So taking like 3 to 5 deep breaths can make such a big difference in your stress overall. When you do it consistently over time, most days, it can definitely impact your stress in a positive way. The next thing is to walk daily. Particularly walking 10 to 15 minutes after you eat has actually shown to help to control the blood sugar spikes. So if you can find yourself or find a way to eat or find a way to walk after you eat, then that would be particularly helpful. If that may not be something that's reasonable for you at this time because of work or just whatever, then just focus on walking daily, period. That is actually how I started my journey, was with a walk. So walking every single day. And then lastly, prioritizing your sleep quality. This means having a nighttime and a morning routine. That looks like not being on your phone right before you go to bed, not jumping into work as soon as you wake up in the morning. So many people, especially working from home, have to be at work at 8. They have to log in at 8. They're waking up at 7:45, brushing their teeth, maybe grabbing something to drink, probably just grabbing a coffee, and then sitting down and looking directly at a screen. Try to slow down your mornings if you can. If you can change that by getting outside first thing in the morning, getting some sunlight in your eyes, all of these things will help with your sleep quality overall, but also it'll help with your stress levels like we talked about earlier. So if you're sitting here and you're thinking, wow, this really sounds like me, all of the symptoms sounds like me, all of the things that need to be worked on sounds like me, and I have a weight loss goal, and you want to go deeper into this, I am hosting a live masterclass on September 17th. It's called the Insulin Reset and Weight Loss Masterclass, and we are going to dive into everything that we talked about today. In the masterclass, we're going to focus on actionable steps and maintaining long-term weight loss, because everybody knows how to lose weight. That's not the question, but how do you keep it off? That is what we are going to focus on. So the class is live, but don't worry if you can't make it to the class at the live time. You will have access to the recording for 30 days. So you'll still be able to go back, take notes, and do everything that you need to do for 30 days after September 17th. So check the show notes or the description for the link to sign up. And if you need more personalized one-on-one help, visit my website, cookiemiller.com, to apply for private coaching. So, if this episode or any of our episodes have helped you, please consider leaving us a 5-star review. You can also take a screenshot and tag us on IG. We are at Worth the Wait Podcast, and I am at Cookie Miller, and we will be sure to repost you. I will see you guys in class on the 17th. Bye.